So how does somebody go from being homeless, literally living in a car with a smashed out window, to becoming a best-selling author who's spoken in over 60 countries? I know, it sounds pretty much impossible, right? But today we are breaking down the breakthrough formula of Garrain Jones. And it's a story of radical transformation that starts at the absolute lowest point you can possibly imagine. To really get this transformation, you have to understand where it all began. In his own words, he said, "It was August 2011 at 3:43 a.m. I was at rock bottom. The worst part about it was that I blamed everyone else for my situation." I mean, picture that. He's living in his car, totally defeated, and that busted out window is just this constant, daily reminder of how far he'd fallen. But that moment in the car, it didn't just come out of nowhere. To really get a sense of it, you have to look back. This was the boiling point, really, the culmination of a lifetime of trauma and hardship that had been piling up for decades. I mean, the sheer scale of the adversity he faced is just staggering. At age 4, a man literally tried to kill him by putting him in a dryer. At 12, his own father was murdered. By 15, he was bouncing in and out of juvenile detention, and at 23, he ends up in prison. This timeline, it's not just a list of bad things that happened. It's the reason for his complete and utter desperation. He just felt completely stuck. You know that feeling? Trapped in this loop of watching people he knew, people he felt were less talented, find success while he was just going nowhere. So his default setting, his go-to move, became a kind of shield. He blamed the world, the president, his skin color, basically everyone and everything except himself.
So in that moment, in the car, feeling totally hopeless, he just surrendered. He did the only thing he could think of to do. He looked up and asked the universe for a sign, for just some way to become healthy, happy, and successful, doing something he actually believed in. So he asks for a sign, and what happens next just goes to show you that sometimes the biggest answers come from the most unexpected places you could ever imagine. This brings us to the life-changing phrase that came from a totally chance encounter.
For a whole week, nothing. Crickets. He's still in the same car, same busted window, same problems. But then, just 1 week after he made that desperate plea, he's at a gas station. He's got his last $2 to his name when another homeless man comes up and asks him for money. Jones tells him, "Hey man, I'm just as broke as you are." And the man replies with 6 simple words: "Change your mindset, change your life." And in that one single moment, everything, and I mean everything, just shifted. This was what you might call a conscious interrupt. It's one of those unexpected moments that just completely shatters your normal way of thinking. It was like a jolt that forced Jones to ask this incredibly powerful question. Wait a minute. What if my entire reality is a lie, just based on how I've been thinking about it? So here's the really crucial part. What did he do with that epiphany? He didn't just feel inspired for a day and go back to his old ways. Nope. He turned it into a practical, step-by-step framework for getting unstuck that he now teaches to thousands of people. And he boiled his whole transformation down into 3 core steps that really anyone can follow. First step is awareness. You gotta take radical responsibility because you can't change what you're not even aware of, right? Second is vision. Get crystal clear on what you actually want. Like he says, a person without a vision will perish. And finally, number 3 is action. You have to actively do the complete opposite of your old habits, especially in the areas where you feel the most stuck. Okay, so that sounds good in theory, but how does this actually work in practice? Let's dig into a super powerful case study in clarity, how he used this exact framework to attract his soulmates. Back in 2015, he created what he called a soulmate list. But listen, this was not your typical vague wish list. No way. This was a detailed blueprint with 3 different columns. The first was for the specific attributes of his ideal partner. The second was all about how he wanted to feel in that relationship. And the third? That listed the top 5 places he would most likely meet someone like that. And when I say specific, I mean incredibly specific. The list wasn't just 5 or 10 things. He identified exactly 62 distinct attributes he was looking for in a partner. 62. But here's the most powerful part of the whole process. He realized the list wasn't really about finding someone. It was about becoming someone. He had to embody those 62 qualities himself. So for 3 years, he worked on himself like crazy. And then, in 2018, he met his wife, Blair, at a personal development seminar, one of his chosen locations. And get this, she matched all 62 attributes on the list. He didn't just find his soulmate, he had attracted his own mirror. And this whole process, becoming your vision, it leads directly to his core philosophy, which really explains why all of us get stuck in the first place. He calls it unlocking your artist power. So he believes we all start out as an inner artist. You know, that curious, creative, energetic little kid that's inside all of us. But then, over time, through things like parental intolerance, societal pressure, self-doubt, we become what he calls a deteriorated adult. We build this shell around ourselves to fit in, and in the process, we completely forget who we really are. This quote from him just nails the idea perfectly. Adults are deteriorated children who have forgotten their way inside of their own bodies. So for Garrain Jones, real transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about rediscovering that authentic, inner artist you were all along. Ultimately, Garrain's story isn't just about his journey. It's a framework, a roadmap that we can use for our own. And it leaves us with one really powerful question to think about. What does your breakthrough look like?